Right, these figures are truly amazing. Is it right that every 15 minutes in Australia a person goes missing?
They're the current statistics, yes, and they are alarming. It's not uncommon to come in of a morning and there'd be 30 or 35 reports overnight.
And you're snowed under. I mean, what do you think when you see these?
My role is to, I suppose, triage or assess them to see where they fit into the category of a suspicious disappearance.
Yeah.
Some of them are repeat people who have gone away before. Might be young children who, for whatever reason, might be the 10th or 11th time that they've run away from home. Some are those who are suffering mental illnesses. So there's a vast, broad range, but I think about 50% have some sort of mental illness.
It's not a crime to disappear, is it?
No, it's not a crime, and sometimes people make a conscious decision to disappear. We've had a job 12 months ago where a gentleman said to his wife, "I'm just going out there to ride my push bike down the bike track." 6 months later, he's in Queensland on his push bike. "I don't want anything to do with my family." Now, he's committed no offence, but we've had to put a lot of resources into actually find him.
And of course, he shattered his family.
Correct. They thought that it was a happy family and that, you know, his wife knew from time to time he'd suffered depression. But he just made a decision, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
I'm shattered by the sadness, the profound unhappiness of the people that I have met in this story. And you must see this all the time. Families are ruined by this, aren't they? Lives are ruined.
Correct. And I think it's a case of not knowing. There might be a history in someone's life, and I could say to the mother or the father, "You know what? Sadly, I think your daughter or your son might have taken their own life." Now, that's a big thing for them to accept, but I don't say that lightly. I look at the history of the person and say, hang on, there's 2 or 3 previous attempts. This person is on a lot of medication. They haven't been coping in the days coming up to they disappeared, but it's the not knowing. Question is for the family, did he go away or did she go away and take her own life? If so, where are they? Because I want to actually bury my loved one. Have they met with foul play or have they been murdered? So until they actually find out.
The family say that they just want to know, but in fact they don't want to know the worst, do they?
They never want to know. And, you know, I've had a case that's been fairly publicised, Elizabeth Membry, which turned out to be a murder. For 17 years, every Tuesday, the mother and father rang me. "What are you doing? Where is she?" And to this day, they still don't know where she is.
It's fairly grim business.
Yes.
What do you conclude about life?
Life is very fragile, you know. And I think we're in an environment now where I often say we've lost the art of communication. We're in a modern world where people don't actually communicate. It's text message, it's Facebook, it's Twitter. Part of that is the reason why I think people have a mental illness, because we actually don't sit down face to face and talk.
We don't sit down and talk
No.
as we are now.
No. So they bottle it all up, right? There's many agencies out there. There's Beyond Blue. All I'm saying to someone out there, if you have something going on in your mind or you think you're going to pack up and leave your family because of some disturbance, there's help there before you go. You know, it's not a crime to go missing, and it's not a crime, and there's nothing wrong with saying to someone, "I'm actually depressed."
Because I've been naively saying, well, surely they'd tell a friend or somebody at work or a mate or a doctor or somebody knows. But do you think maybe people just do not communicate?
No, they don't. Like, I'm going back a little bit in history, but a guy got up and we found him 25 years later in New Zealand. Everyone believed that he was murdered and he was buried under the Hume Freeway. And I found him in New Zealand. And I sat down to him and I said, "I'm here to interview you about the disappearance of you." And he said, "Well, Ron, one day I got up and I decided I didn't want to be part of my family. I had a few issues in my life and I travelled to New Zealand and I've never been back to Melbourne." We've since reunited him with his twin brother.
I talked to a copper today who'd had to go out and talk to some little kids and talk straight to them about the possibility that their mum was never coming back. That's not easy to do, is it?
No, it's not easy.
Have you done that?
I've done it and I've shed tears with them.
Now, you're a big tough bloke, so it's all right if I got a bit tearful myself during this story.
Well, I think so, because otherwise you're not releasing the emotions. You know, I don't want to sit every Sunday night by the piano and sing Kumbaya, but I think we've lost that family unit. I think there's a lot of pressures in this world that we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago, and people aren't coping.
Could either of these stories, Lauren or Dan, could they have a happy ending? Are there happy endings?
I think we've always got to live in hope.
You don't sound very hopeful, though.
I've got to look at the history behind Dan O'Keefe, and sadly, I'm not very hopeful for that. And I've been upfront from day one and told their family that. The other one I haven't had a lot of involvement in, but she's only been missing now for a month. As I said, there's a couple of things in her life which maybe she's just decided to walk away, but we'll keep looking.
Well, single mum, 5 kids.
Might have got too much for her.
Is it strange when someone walks out of the house, leaves their purse behind with their identification, all the things they need to survive somewhere else, and their medication as well?
No, it's not strange.
You've seen it all before.
I've seen it all before, because they get themselves into a situation where they actually don't think straight.
I don't want you to tell us how to do it, but how do they do it? I mean, how do you start a new life? You can't actually rejoin society, can you? Because you can't get the paperwork these days.
Well, then you've got to obviously come by the paperwork. Might go to your letterbox one day and pull out Charles Woolley's driver's licence, and I become Charles Woolley.
Oh, they saw a policeman on 60 Minutes, tell them what to do.
No, there's many stories. No, there's many stories about it. No, they're not complex people, but I think people who are actually determined to start a new life actually put a lot of planning in.
You can create a new persona.
Correct.
And it can become official.
Correct. So there's a lot of thought. If I'm going to fake my disappearance, there's actually a lot of thought that goes into it and how I'm actually going to do it.
Because if you look over time of the people who don't come back, there's quite a large town out there, the equivalent of people who've just disappeared, started again.
There is. Like, I've just looked at the figures yesterday or the day before. For the last 12 months, we have 146 or around 146 that we haven't found. Where are they?
It's a good question.
But we'll keep looking.
You never give up.
Failure's not an option.
I like you. Thanks, mate. You're good.
That it?
Yep, you're from Central Casting.